Gorilla mode. Don't know how you can watch Pickett and not be encouraged. Best player on the offense yesterday and adds to his game weekly. Climbing the pocket, delivering on a rope accurately. Doing all this in spite of an inadequate OC.
It's just a young squad, bro, on the offensive side of the ball, man. And they're inconsistent. And inconsistency is what you get from young players. Veteran players, it's just a consistency thing because they know how to be dialed in. They know the professionalism. They know what it takes Monday through Saturday before you even get out there on Sunday. Whereas with younger players, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure out, man, how much is enough work? How much is enough study? They're trying to figure out, hey, when is enough of me trying to improvise versus me allowing the scheme to take, the priority. Those are what you learn as a young player. And that's why typically your young players are role players. Your young players are typically sprinkled in. Even Jamar Chase last year, right? They still had a Tyler Boyd and a T. Higgins out there. Granted, he emerged and he became the guy, but it was like you still had other pieces where now you're just asking this guy to be a part of. Even when Joe Burrow got there, right? You still had your Tyler Boyd. You still had a Joe Mixon. So it was like, yo, I need you to be elite at times, but you still have other pieces around. Right now for us, we got a lot of youth on offense. A lot of you trying to figure it out. But when that's happening in stadium and you're relying on those guys to not just be role players, to actually be the person that is moving this offense, that's a challenge on a week in and week out basis for a young player. Whether it's George Pickens, whether it's Najee Harris, whether it's Kenny Pickett, whether it's Pat Freiermuth, you even see with Deontay Johnson at times, how even he's still struggling with consistency because it is not easy to do at this level, man. And every week it gets more challenging. You know why? Because every time you do something good on tape, you know what a defender like me or everybody else is doing? We picking up on that. And now we trying to figure out what can we do to make that not work for you next time. If you're Minka Fitzpatrick and you're watching Kenny Pickett, you're seeing him do some positive things. You're saying, okay, well, let's try to focus on this to take this away, and let's see what he does after that. And for rookies, you're finally like, oh, I finally found something I can do good. Great. Oh, no, they took that away. What else can I do? I don't know yet. Let me figure it out. And the guys that can figure it out, they last,
counter
right?
to the counter.
Absolutely. It's all about the adjustments. At the NFL level, it's less about the talent and more about the mind, that strategy part of it, those little details. And that's why you see around the league, the scores be reflected how they are. We laugh and we're like, man, how does this team beat this team? How did the Detroit Lions beat the New York Giants, right? And it's like, man, the New York Giants are hot. They're kicking tail, man. They're doing all this. It's a little details, little things. You get in the game, man, and you hit a couple of those little things and they don't. Now we up on them. Because the talent, everybody's talented. Everybody's good. But little details, the schematics, the mental part. And that's what we are lacking at times with this team. But that's also a part of the process. You have to figure that out. And the only way you can do that is by actually going through it.
It's a good way to put it because you got to do it. I'm thinking back to Martavis. Whenever he came in with that offense, he was like really the only young guy. We had a full veteran offensive
you had
line.
Marcus Wheaton.
Big
you
Ben
had
already. So it's cool if
see what I'm
he's
saying?
having some young person slip-ups here and there because you literally have everyone else that could pick up the slack.
And did he not have some drops?
Martavis?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now think about this, though. Him having drops when you had an AB, when you have a... We didn't have Heath at the time. We was Ladarius for a little bit and
Jesse.
And then you had L. Bell. So you have multiple pieces around. So that drop isn't as important, right?
Because Martavis would even make a big play. But I get your point.
But
like someone else is going to pick up the slack.
But imagine if that was your guy you're featuring. You're like, hold on, bro. You can't be doing that. Because now that kills our offense. We don't have an alternative. At times, we're trying to figure that thing out.
Everyone's young.
Yeah.
Literally, everyone's young. Everyone's learning on the offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to put it. Dude, you know how many times, though, whenever I post some of these videos after the games, where opponents' fans will hop in and comment and say, like, yo, good game. Like, I think Pickett's a real one. Like, I see the starting stages with this offense and with the quarterback.
It's different.
It's unfortunate our own fans can't see that.
Well, and I was going to say, you also have to remember, too, for us, it's different because we are intimately living this day every day, right? We follow this team. We watch this team since training camp, every report that comes out. So we will tire on certain things quicker. We expect certain things faster. And I just feel like our sense of just reality as it pertains to our team is skewed because of how close we are, how focused we are on it. Versus when you look around the league, it's like, man, we're not the only team that's dealing with this type of stuff. You think we're the only team that's dealing with quarterback issues or young player issues, coordinator issues? finishing game issues, man, there's plenty of teams around the league that are dealing with that. The problem is we don't care about that because we're so focused right here, and it makes it feel as if we're the only teams dealing with this. So now we create this pressure pot, right? This anxiety, this, I gotta get it right now because we can get past. It's like, nah, man, everybody doing the same stuff right here, man. It's all about who is going to trust their process the most. And for me, I hang my hat on the steal away because of what? The proven track record. Whereas when you look at some of the quick fix teams, right? We talk about the Jacksonville Jaguars and how they love to spin. They're super aggressive, right?
Hell, you're even seeing with the Chargers, and they got a stud quarterback.
You're seeing with the Rams. It's not like you have the teams like us, like Baltimore, right? Even New England to an extent, where it's like, man, they're going to commit and they're going to try to build and stick to their method. And you can see why they have a little bit more a lot more longevity in terms of always being relevant, always being in the conversation. But then you look at some of the other teams where it's like, okay, you might have a good season here or there, but then you look at these droughts they go through. And that is a part of the cultural philosophy. If you're looking for a quick fix, okay, you can go that route, but just understand the ramifications of that quick fix. If you're looking for long-term success, well, this is also a negative with that, but just understand the pros and cons to each one. And once you do that, then you can figure out which one you want. But for me, I'd rather have the long-term success. And I think when we always beat our chest talking about 6 rings, you think about that's long-term success. When you hear us talk about no losing seasons, that's long-term success because the NFL has been around for over 100 years. Has there been a team to win more than 6 Super Bowls? No. So you're telling me less than out of 100 plus seasons, we're only going to win a Super Bowl less than 10% of the times. And then in terms of how many teams have actually made appearances, right? What's the most appearances a team has?
We got to have like one of the top 3 or 4
right.
like win
even
percentages
right?
since like the 60s or 70s, just overall.
Right.
Yeah, and then deep playoff runs. We've had that with Cowher. We had it with Tomlin.
So it's like
obviously Chuck Noll.
We have all the stuff that we're hollering and screaming about, but now that we're finally going through some of the rough patches of it, we lose sight of that. And that's the part that's kind of like crazy to me because it's like, man, everything that we want, all these other teams are hunting for what we've already had, what we're dealing with. And we're kind of forgetting that because now we're on the back end of it. But we're still going to hop right back in this thing because we already have that foundation laid and we're seeing it now. But that context, that development is key going forward. And that's what we're going to see if they can continue doing it. So that way it's not a 5-year drought, 10-year drought, 20-year drought. It's like a half a season or it's a 2-season thing. And now we right back in this thing. That's the process we're in right now.
Yeah, I like everything you said there. And another thing to consider with the 3 coaches that we've had over the last 50, 60 years, even with Noll, even with Bill Cowher, they had some losing seasons. And they were through multiple quarterbacks. But there was always some bounce back. You know, Cowher, from what I can remember at least, I mean, I was way too young at this time, but we had some really good success mid-90s. But then there was a little bit of a drop-off. We came back early 2000s with like Cordell, and then ultimately he wins the Super Bowl with Ben. It's like, dude, we've had it so good. We've really had it so good. And not saying we still can't have it good right now because I weirdly believe in this team
But this is a part of it, though. It's like we have to get through these. Now, not saying that it can't happen in a week. Not saying that it can't happen in a couple of games. But this is the process that we have to get through. We can't just skip this step right here. And we're just going through it. You have to literally learn how to win at this level, man, because it is different. It's nothing like what you're going to ever see in college or in high school. You have to learn this thing and then to learn to do it consistently. It's not easy, man. But with the team that we have, if they can capture that sooner rather than later, you can see how we're setting ourselves up long term as well, because it's a lot of youth that's out there right now, especially on the offensive side of the ball. There's a logo that is up there on the screen. You see it as DraftKings. It's as beautiful. It's as nice. And we like them a lot. Okay? And they like you a lot. Because they are the top rated sports booking app in the U.S. The way that we like to work. And on top of that, they are safe, they are secure, and they are reliable, Deke. There is nothing better when you hit on that parlay, the same game parlay too. Or, you know, when you just have that one-off, you just feel good about this prop bet. You're like, man, I think that my dog gonna throw a tutty today. Sometimes it just is like that, and DraftKings give you those opportunities. But more importantly, they give you a promo code, and that promo code is MOATS. You use that when you make that first deposit of $5. You're going to get a smooth $200 in DraftKings deposit money. And that is a great situation because you get to use that money to go out there and potentially make more money. It's a good situation. It's like a win-win. You catch my drift?
100%.
But Deke, I also know at times some people go past 100% and they're not able to turn that switch off. Stays on for too long.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when those people go through those experiences, sometimes you have to ask yourself if you or someone you may know has a gambling problem. They might need some crisis counseling. Shoot, Deke, they might even need referral services. Now, if they're living in New York, on the screen right now, there is a certain number that they could call or text. For my New Yorkers, New York, New York. But for everybody else, the number that you need to call is 1-800-GAMBLER. I said a 1-800-GAMBLER.